Hello and welcome to January 2025 Subway Update, which is essentially a year in review of 2024. I'ma cut the nonsense. I delayed this update not only because I had a lot on my plate, but also because I had extreme bias and feudal disputes against the R211s throughout 2024. However, as of November 21st, 2024, I finally accepted them as a fleet. Now that that's out of the way, let us begin. We will mainly be recapping all the subway developments, specifically the R211 developments, between March 2024 and January 2025. R211As 4085-89 returned to service on April 8th. 4080-4084 returned to service on April 11th. These 10 cars were the last R211As to return from the gearbox issue which occurred in October of 2023. That was because 4085-89 was a conspicuous experience the leaky gearbox issue in the first place, back in October of 2023. 4150-59, after beginning to burn-in test on March 5th, were sent to Jamaica on March 24th for CBTC testing and operator training. Although they weren't in service yet, they were already equipped with flags. They eventually returned to Pitkin and entered service on the A on May 2nd, 2024. 4180-89 entered service on the A on March 30th, becoming the 13th R211A consistent enter service, and the 15th R211 to do so in general. By the time 4180-4189 entered service, the amount of R211As on the A was matched with the amount of R179s on the A. 4205-4209 were delivered on March 14th, 4200-09 entered service together on April 29th. 4210-14 arrived on March 26th, while 4215-19 were delivered on April 3rd. Those two sets went together and entered service on April 24th, being the first 4200 consistent enter service. So 4210-19 entered service before 4200-09. 4220-24 was delivered on April 9th, while 4225-29 were delivered on April 11th. They were seen testing together on April 23rd, and together they entered service on the A on May 8th. Around the time that 4229 was in service, that's around the time that the R62A trains began to be phased out. 4230-34 were delivered on April 17th, then transferred to Pitkin on April 24th. 4235-39 were delivered between April 23rd and 24th. 4230-39 were at Jamaica for a little while for CBTC testing and operator training. They stayed at Jamaica until July 13th, returned to Pitkin, and then entered service on July 20th on the A, being the second to last 4200 series R211A to enter service. 4240-44 were awaiting delivery to New York City on April 29th, while 4245-49 were delivered on April 29th. Those two sets entered service on the A on June 12, 2024. 4255-59 were delivered to the South Brooklyn Railway on May 21st. They linked up with 4250-54 and entered service on the A on June 24th. This happens to be my favorite 4200 series R211A. I caught it on June 27th on the A at Dyckman Street and 190th Street, but sadly my phone had died before I got the chance to get pictures of it at 190th Street. So I went out the very next day looking for it and found it right before I went home. Ironically, me being out on that day also allowed me to catch New Jersey Transit 2006 MCI D4500CL 9025 on its very last ever run in revenue service. 4250-59 will always be my GOAT. I don't care what anyone says. 4260-4264 were delivered around May 7th and transferred to Pitkin around May 17th or before. 4260-69 entered service on the same day as 4240-49 on the A line on June 12, 2024. 4270-74 was delivered to South Brooklyn Railway as of June 4th, and 4270-4279 entered service together on July 4th. 4280-84 were delivered on June 11th, while 4285-89 were delivered on June 20th. These two sets came together and entered service on the A on July 12th. And then as of August 11th or before, 4280-84 was merged with 4290-94, which was very interesting because you had the two newest R211A consists that were paired with each other. This is around the time where the A line began to get a little reckless in swapping the R211As with each other. They wouldn't keep them together for too long, they would just merge them with other R211As. 4290-94 were delivered on June 19th, while 4295-99 were delivered on June 26th to the South Brooklyn Railway. These two sets came together as 4290 to 4299 and entered service on July 23rd. being the last 4200 series R211A to enter service, with 4230 to 39 being the second to last R211A to enter service due to its time spent at Jamaica. 4290 to 99 was the 24th R211A consist to enter service. There was a notable shift between the 4100s and the 4200s because the 4100s had cove screens on the top of their ceiling area while the 4200s did not. They had static ad displays. Some people like the 4100s a little more than the 4200s because of that, but we won't be getting into that right now. By the time the 4200s were done, 4350 to 4364 were at Lincoln, Nebraska, while 4365 to 4429 were at Kobe, Japan. 4295 to 99 were delivered to South Brooklyn Railway on June 26th. Directly afterward, 4300 to 4304 were delivered on June 27, 2024. This was a pair which I thankfully got to see after my last day in a special summer program. Ironically, this was the last consist to be delivered to South Brooklyn Railway from June 27th to November 7th, as Kawasaki switched the delivery method from the South Brooklyn Railway to 207th Street, due to the former receiving repairs. Initially, the cars would be delivered to South Brooklyn Railway, go to Coney Island for contact shoe installation, then be shifted to Pitkin, burn in, and enter service. This process would take around a month. Not to mention it would allow fans to see the train in its pure state before being defiled by the New York City subway system and the terrible maintenance of Pitkin, of course. With the delivery process shifting to 207th Street between July and November, 2 cars would be delivered via flatbed through New Jersey to 207th Street Yard on Mondays, while the remaining 3 would be delivered on Tuesdays. Then the 5 cars would be assembled at 207th Street Yard on Wednesday, transferred to Coney Island for third rail shoe installation, do various tests on BMT trackage, transferred to Pitkin, and then burn in and enter service on the A, and sometimes even the C. If the 4300s didn't arrive this way, I would have definitely considered them as goated, as I would have been able to catch them beforehand. However, Zach Transit hates the 4300s for a different reason though. He's based. On August 7th, a mystery R211A was spotted being inducted into the system, which went to Coney Island Yard. This was the replacement car for 4309, which was damaged during the delivery process, likely by a low-clearance object as supposed by MTA T-Train. On August 21st, another mystery R211A car was spotted moving to 207th Street Yard. That happened to be the original 4309, which after sitting at Coney Island for a little while, alongside the new 4309, from August 7th to August 21st, was sent to 207th Street Yard on August 21st, then back to Kawasaki for repairs or replacement on August 24th. There are 2 potential theories as to what 4309 actually became. It might have become a car in 4335 to 39, or it might have become 4479. Because 4305 to 4309 was not ready for this reason, 4300 to 4304 received 4310 to 14 as a mate instead. They burned and tested together between August 12th and 13th, and entered service on August 22nd, being the first 4300 series R211A to do so. I caught the consist on September 20th. Then R211A 4305-09 was delivered to 207th Street Yard around July 17th, and were present at Coney Island on July 23rd. The replacement 4309 was present in this consist. This marked the first R211A to be delivered directly to 207th Street Yard rather than South Brooklyn. 4310 to 14 and 4319 were all present at 207th Street as of July 30th. 4310 to 14 tested by itself on the Rockaway Flats on August 5th. 4315 to 19 were brought to 207th Street Yard before August 5th, while 4320 to 24 were brought there between August 6th and 8th. 4325 to 29 were delivered to 207th around August 14th to 15th or before. The replacement 4309 came in on August 7th. 4330 to 34 were delivered on August 20th, while 4335 to 39 were not delivered until December 18th to 19th. 4340 to 44 were delivered on September 12th or before, while 4345 to 49 were delivered on September 12th. 4350 to 54 were delivered to 207th Street between September 17th and 19th. 4355 to 59 were delivered between September 23rd and 25th. 4360 to 64 were delivered between October 1st and 3rd. 4365 to 69 were delivered between October 7th and 9th. 4370 to 74 were delivered between October 15th and 16th. 4375-79 were delivered to 207th Street as of October 23rd. 4380-84 were delivered to 207th Street Yard as of October 30th, and were the last R211A to be delivered solely in this manner, without a complementary pair also being delivered to South Brooklyn. This was due to South Brooklyn being fully repaired as of November 7th or before. Ever since the R211As returned from their gearbox issue, it seems like Kawasaki has had no trouble sticking to the 5-car per week delivery schedule, at least from January 23rd, 2024 to January 10th, 2025, where 4165 to 4414 and 4470 to 4489 were delivered, because of the fact that the R211As are able to be built and assembled at 3 plants: Japan, Yonkers, and Lincoln, Nebraska. On the week of November 17th, Kawasaki began to implement a quicker delivery method, delivering to 207th Street Yard and the South Brooklyn Railway simultaneously. 4395-99 arrived to South Brooklyn Railway between November 20th and 21st, while 4470-74 were sent to 207th Street Yard on November 20th, and were towed to Coney Island the next day. This marked a new delivery milestone, 10 cars per week, with Kawasaki's Yonkers plant sending sets to 207th Street Yard, while the Lincoln, Nebraska plant would send sets to South Brooklyn. They took a break the next week for obvious reasons. 4300-04 and 4310-14 were the first 4300 series consist to enter service on the A, doing so on August 22nd. This was the 25th R211A consist to enter service. After that, 4315-24 burn-in tested between August 21st and 23rd and enter service on August 31st. 4305-09 and 4325-29 burn-in tested between September 3rd and 4th and enter service on September 15th. 4330-34 and 4340-44 burned in on the A between September 10th and 12th and entered service on September 24th, while 4345-49 burned in on the West End on September 18th to 20th and on Sea Beach on September 25th, and 4345-4354 burned in together as a full-length consist on the A from October 8th to October 10th and entered service on the C on October 21st as set number 29. 4355-59 tested in the Rockaway Flats on October 4th. 4355-59 and 4360-64 came together and entered service on the A on October 23rd. 4365-74 entered service on the A on November 6th. 4375-84 began burn-in testing on November 20th or before, then entered service on December 9th on the A. This was the last R211 consist delivered solely to 207th Street Yard to enter service. So here is the order of how the 4300s entered service. 4375-79 were delivered to 207th Street Yard as of October 23rd. 4375-84 began burning in on November 20th or before, while 4385-89 tested on Brighton on November 14th. 4385-89 was the first R211A set to be delivered to South Brooklyn Railway in months, happening on November 7th. 4390-94 was delivered a week after on November 14th. 4385-4394 entered service on the A on December 23rd, being the 33rd consist to enter service. 4395-99 went to Coney Island Yard on December 6th and were sent to Pitkin Yard on December 7th. 4400-4404 were announced to be at Pitkin Yard as of December 15th. They linked up with 4395-99 and burn-in tested on the A line on December 20th, and together they entered service on the A on December 31st. This is the newest R211A consist that is in service. So we got to witness all of the 4300s except for 4335-39, as well as a 4400 series R211A set, enter service before 2024 concluded. 4405-4414 were delivered to South Brooklyn Railway between December 9th and December 12th. Yes, you heard me right. They delivered a whole 10-car train to South Brooklyn, while also delivering 4475-79 to 207th Street Yard between December 10th and 11th. 15 to 20 cars in 1 week is abysmal. Wow! 4410-14 began testing on December 30th on the Culver line, and then tested on West End on January 1st. It then joined 4405-09 to test as a 10-car train on the night of January 10th going forward. 4415-4419 were then delivered to South Brooklyn Railway on January 15th. 4470-79 were at Coney Island Yard for storage, but have recently done occasional burn-in tests in the Rockaways, on their own in 5-car sets. 4470 to 74 tested in the Rockaways by itself on January 2nd, then joined 4475 to 79, and they both tested in the Rockaways on January 3rd, while 4405 to 09 tested by itself on the same day. An R62A school car was also present in the Rockaways on that day. 4470 to 4479 then did burn-in tests throughout the week of January 5th, 2025. As it stands now, 4470 to 79 is slated to become the 35th R211A consist to enter service, and the first full 4400 series train to do so. 4485 to 89 were delivered to South Brooklyn Yard, while 4480 to 84 were delivered to 207th Street Yard during the week of January 5th, 2025. 10 cars in total.
I gotta be honest with you, Techno. I don't get why you guys even support these trains. They're just a reskinned version of the R160, if you ask me. Gray-ass American flag having, dirt-covered, screen-lated corporate sellout, cyberpunk wannabe trains. But I'm just a hater, I guess.
Shut up, Chris. I'm just learning to like the R211s, and you hit me with this? R211As 4080 to 89 ran on the Rockaway Park Shuttle on August 3rd. On August 7, 2024, 4060 to 4319 entered a shared pool between the A and C line. On September 20th, the C train used R211As for the very first time. The first consist to do so was 4220 to 24 with 4189 to 85. The second consist was 4245 to 49 and 4200 to 04, which reverted to A trains to Rockaway Park later in the day. However, as more R211As were delivered later on, R211AC trains began to become more common, even using the newer 4300 series consist, like 4345 to 54, which even entered service on the route. This is very pleasing to witness. Now you see R211AC trains like it's nothing, because it's now a very normal occurrence in the system. On April 19th, an R211A consist 4115 to 4090 ran on a shuttle between Far Rockaway and Rockaway Park on April 19th. Credit to EA Obster for the pictures. On April 28th, two R211A consists were on the A shuttle from Howard Beach to Far Rockaway. The A had been split in two sections on that day due to track replacement, between 207th Street and Euclid Avenue, and between Howard Beach JFK and Far Rockaway. Option Order 1 R211A shells are already beginning to be built as of June 2024. On October 27, 2024, R211A car bodies were shown under construction at the Kawasaki facility. This confirmed the fact that R211As 4420 and 4443 had been built, and that Option Order R211A 3415 had been built, confirming that the Option Order 1 R211As will be numbered between 3400 and 4039 to make up 640 cars. This order is expected to be delivered from February 2025 to December 2026, giving us 30 cars per month and allowing 3 new trains to enter service per month. Also, by the looks of it, it looks like whatever R211A is behind 3415, maybe 4420, is Kawasaki's 3000th rail car. That's pretty cool. 4422 and 4444 were spotted on December 23rd. On October 9th, R211A's 4475 to 79 were announced to be built. 4479 was Kawasaki's 5000th rail car to be built, and as such, a great celebration was held for it. 4494 was shifted to Yonkers on November 1st, 4484 was shifted there on November 2nd, 4479 was sent there on September 17th, while 4475 to 78 joined it on November 25th or before. 4470 to 73 were sent there between September 10th and 18th. That consist was later shifted to 207th Street Yard. But before November 20th, 4470 to 4499 were all present at Kawasaki's Yonkers facility. All remaining base order R211As have been built as of October 9th or before, with option order units even being built now. The MTA wants all of the R211A base order to be on property by February of 2025. Summarizing the R211 delivery: 380 base order cars, 20 R211T cars, and 10 R211S cars have all been delivered to MTA property. The R211A is now the most plenteous fleet at Pitkin. As indicated by NY Subway Life, you have an over 60% chance of catching an R211A on the A, especially since all these R179s are now migrating to Jamaica. 34 R211A consists are now in service on the A and C lines, with 37 R211s being in service in general. Nearly 88% of the base order is now on MTA property. That's quite impressive. Kawasaki is conducting this delivery quite well, giving us all these 4200s, 4300s, and even 4400s. Amazing. So many R211As were delivered this year that I almost lost track and gave up on the subway updates in general. We have received a firestorm of R211As. And just as a marker, when 4275 to 79 were delivered, that marked the halfway point in the base order R211A delivery. We are long past that point now. They want the order done by February 2025, so it is likely that all of the base order R211As will be in service by April. As of February 11, 2024, more R211As were on property than 5-car R179s. 60 base order R211As remain to be delivered as of January 15. On December 16, 2024, R211 Option Order 2 was confirmed. The purchase of this order was not affected by congestion pricing. This order was reduced by 2 cars, from 437 to 435 cars. This reduction occurred because the 32 cars that were meant to be arranged in 8 4-car sets, or 4 8-car trains, were eliminated from the order. I'm glad the MTA realized that we don't need any more 4-car trains in the system. 355 cars were ordered to be delivered in 5-car sets, which will total 71 5-car sets, or 35.5 10-car trains. That can easily be the entire fleet of an entire train line, as it's the same amount of trains that the D line uses. Additionally, 80 hardshell R211T cars will be purchased. It seems like R211T hardshell tester 4040 to 4049 was the most successful R211T iteration. So in November 2022, R211A Option Order 1 for 640 cars was purchased for $1.8 billion. And on December 16, 2024, R211 Option Order 2 was purchased for $1.3 billion as a mixture of R211A and R211T cars. The order is expected to range from 4,500 to 4,934. These cars are slated to replace the remaining R46s that will be left at Coney Island and to jumpstart the retirement process of the R68 and R68A subway cars there. Whatever R68s and R68As are not handled by R211 Option Order 2 will be handled by the 355 car order of R268s. It is worth noting that the R211A portion of Option Order 2 and the R268 order are equal allotments, each promising 355 cars to the MTA's fleet. These R211s will also be CBTC equipped and will have cameras built in just like the base order. With that, all 1,610 R211 cars have now been ordered, and therefore we will be locked in with the R211 delivery for the remainder of the 2020s. For this purpose, as you may be able to tell, starting with the delivery of the 4200s, the R211As began to grow on me. On November 21st, 2024, I started liking R211As again, and mustered enough strength to resume production on this video. So, in total, we have ordered 440 base order cars for the A and C lines, 75 R211Ss for Staten Island, 20 R211T tester cars, 640 Option Order 1 R211A cars, 355 Option Order 2 R211A cars, and 80 Option Order 2 R211T production models, hard shells. Links to these deliveries will be posted in the description and in the pinned comment. Fun fact, over 40% of the MTA's current railcar fleet was built by Kawasaki. In addition, it was announced that 2 R211T consists, or 10 cars, will be transferred to Jamaica for G-Train service in March 2025. This will offer commuters a 20% chance of encountering a fully walkable G-Train, making up 2 out of the 13 trains needed for the G. The other R211T consist of 10 cars will remain assigned to the C line, and possibly continue to be used as a school car consist. I wonder which trains they will send, soft shell, hard shell, or a mixture of both. Open gangway G trains sound quite exciting. Last but not least, Culver CBTC is almost completed. 8th Avenue CBTC is slated to be completed soon, and Fulton Street and Liberty Avenue CBTC are in the works. This is now a merge project which is slated to be completed by 2031, according to MTA President Demetrius Critchlow's presentation to the MTA board on December 16, 2024. Also, credit to Brian Mercier 1022 for the abbreviated notations. 4305 to 4309 took a brief trip to East New York between December 4th and December 9th for wheel truing, due to it obtaining flat wheels when its emergency brakes were activated. This was during the same time period that R160B Siemens 9018-22 was also sent to East New York for the same reason. 8668-72 were sent there between November 22nd and December 8th, likely for the same reason as well. Quite cool seeing 5-car sets traverse the Nassau line. On May 30th, 2024, there was a loss of power in the Rockaways. On December 21st, there was a mechanical problem with the South Channel drawbridge. Also, it stayed open on December 23rd for a little while. From January 17, 2025 to May 2025, there will be no A-train service between Howard Beach and the Rockaways. The A-train will only run between Inwood 207th Street and Lefferts Boulevard or Howard Beach, while the Rockaway Park shuttle will once again transform into the H-train, running from Far Rockaway to Rockaway Park. That service will be fare-free. There will be no train service between Howard Beach and Broad Channel, essentially closing down the Rockaway Flats for repairs. Service to the Rockaways will be substituted by 2 shuttle buses, the Q97 Express from Howard Beach to Far Rockaway, and the Q109 Local from Howard Beach to Beach 67th Street via the Cross Bay Bridge, a substitute for riding down the Rockaway Flats, which will parallel the Q53 Select Bus Services route pattern. The Q97 will be launched 3 days before the Q109. The Q121 will have the same route as the Q98, but will take a left at Far Rockaway. Also, some QM15 trips will be extended to Arvine Beach 54th Street, and peak trips will be added to the QM16 and QM17, and the New York City Ferry from Pier 11 will be free. This will resemble a very similar service pattern as the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy. To ease the burden caused by this, the Long Island Railroad will be reducing their fares to $2.75 for people that buy tickets for Far Rockaway trains at Penn Station, Grand Central, Atlantic Terminal, and Far Rockaway. Maybe Jamaica? This plan has been in the works since August 29, 2023, and training for this service began as early as September 7, 2024. R44s 395, 401, 404, and 452 were retired, with 401 and 452 being shipped away. Those cars were waiting for death even before the R211Ss arrived. 422 and 466 were also retired. 55 R44 cars remain in service at Staten Island. The primary R211S consists 100 to 104, chilled at St. George throughout various points in 2024. Meanwhile, stations throughout Staten Island were prepped up with special car markers on March 11, 2024, which displayed C1 through C5 and R1 through R5 markings. Up to R211S 174 have been built as of December 23rd. 110 to 174, 13 5-car trains. This is confirmed by the sighting of R211S 169 in Nebraska by Sir Knight Photography, with 120 to 132 and 135 to 159 being at Yonkers, and 160 to 174 being at Lincoln, Nebraska as of December 31st. The pilot R211S consists 100 to 104 entered service on October 8, 2024 at 10:36 a.m. from St. George Track 5 with great fanfare. The next day, October 9th, it lost power at St. George, causing it to be taken out of service and to have to restart the 30-day test. R211S 105 tested on September 17th up to October 5th. 100 to 104 was taken out of service on October 26th due to communication issues. The R211S experienced cab signaling issues as well as ATC issues, and was therefore grounded on November 12th. It returned to service on November 23rd to restart its 30-day test from scratch. On December 22, 2024, R211S 100's R5 to R6 doors were deemed to be non-functional, while on January 14th, R211S 104's traction motors died, and it was separated from 100 to 103 at Clifton Shops. Credit to Transit Fender Timothy for the picture. The R211S is messing up left and right, and will likely have to restart its 30-day test from scratch. Ironically, although I was more reluctant towards the idea of new techs on Staten Island, the R211Ss grew on me a lot quicker than the R211As. I accepted them almost instantly, within less than a week of them entering service, whereas it took me over 3 years to fully accept the R211As. The R211s have definitely made a tremendous impact on the system, and they're just getting started. I mean, they even changed my mind on them. And they even have a MuniPals iteration of them as of August 6, 2024. The delivery of R211As is beginning to have an effect on the system. R46s 5894 to 97 and 6186 to 89 were shifted from Pitkin to Coney Island on March 19th, marking the first consist to be shifted. Later on, 5890 to 93, 5946 to 49, 5986 to 89, 6010 to 13, 22 to 25, 46 to 49, 6106 to 09, 6142 to 45, 6170 to 73, 86 to 89, 6190 to 93, and 6202 to 05 were also shifted from Pitkin to Coney Island. This is 52 cars in total, or 6.5 trains. 5986 to 5989, 6142 to 45, and 6170 to 73 were sent back to Pitkin for temporary service before they were retired or sidelined, while 5978 to 81, 6038 to 41, and 6178 to 81 were sent to Coney Island. In equal trade, Coney Island now has 52 ex-Pitkin R46 cars in total, or 6.5 trains, listed here. This has allowed for a significant expansion of Coney Island Yard's spare factor, allowing them to maintain their R46s a bit better. This was done to expand Coney Island's spare factor to give more R46s a chance to rest, as well as to retire the most effective R46s currently at Coney Island. In total, Coney Island now has 5 more R46s than they used to. R46s 5910 to 13, 30 to 33, 5970 to 73, 6138 to 41, and 6166 to 69, 20 cars were retired at Pitkin. These were the first R46 cars to be retired by R211As as of June 8, 2024. Of course, you remember the fact that the first 11 to 13 R211As, 4060 to 4189, were implemented to replace the missing R32s. The R32s, of course, were cleared off MTA property to make way for the new R211As. So these two fleets do have a relationship to each other. Later on, R46s 5914 to 17, 5962 to 65, 74 to 77, 5998 to 6001, 6006 to 09, 6094 to 6101, 6152 to 53 with 6207 to 06, 6158 to 61, 6182 to 85, 6208 to 10, 6224 to 26, 6238 and 6248 to 50. 48 cars were retired between June 8, 2024 and January 10, 2025. 68 cars in total at Pitkin Yard specifically, as well as R46s 5810 to 13 from Coney Island, later followed by 5790 to 93. Adding on to 5550 to 53, which was already retired due to the 36th Street incident. The R46 retirement pace began quickly picking up throughout June and July, and has been in full force ever since. The most recent R46s to be retired were 6152 to 53 and 6207 to 06, which were retired on January 10, 2025. On July 10, 6152 to 53 and 6207 to 06 were removed from service. However, they returned from the dead on November 11th, re-entering service on the A line, and getting the chance to traverse the 2nd Avenue subway on November 16th. However, it was retired again on January 10, 2025, this time for real. R46s 5918 to 21, 5950 to 57, 5986 to 5993, 6026 to 29, 6066 to 69, 6090 to 93, 6126 to 29, 6174 to 77, 6228 to 30, and 6244 to 46. Enough cars for 11 300-foot trains were sent to Coney Island on January 3, 2025. It was presumed that these R46s would be prepped up to run on the G line, but it isn't clear at this moment. Also, R46s 5938 to 41, 6054 to 57, 6074 to 77, 6130 to 33, 34 to 37, 42 to 45, 6216 to 18, 6220 to 22, 6232 to 34, 6240 to 42, 52 to 54, and 56 to 58 are also out of service, but they can be used if necessary, with some of these actually pending reactivation. But apparently 92 R46 cars, or 11.5 trains, have been affected by the R211A order so far, with about 100 R46s in normal condition having been affected by this delivery, with most of them having been retired. 584 R46s remain in service, with 436 cars, or 54.5 trains, being at Coney, and 148 cars, or 18.5 trains, being at Pitkin for the A and C. Now, each yard likely has half of a train set as a spare. Now, 5564 and 5682 were sent to Concourse Yard on December 10th for wheel truing. 6146 to 49, and several other R46s have had this procedure done and have subsequently returned to service. Also, as a result of the R46 shifts to Coney Island, R68s 2768 to 83 were moved from Coney Island to Concourse as of September 26 and before, increasing the count from 33.5 to 35.5 D trains. The R68 and R62A A trip discontinued as of July 2024. This was due to the summer pick of 2024, which began on July 1st. The B got an extra service extension to Bedford Park Boulevard, being able to run there between 5 a.m. and 7 p.m. Some trips would terminate at Kingsbridge Road, while some would terminate at 145th Street, but the majority of B trains would now no longer use 145th Street as a midday terminal. The 8:28 a.m. B train that terminated at 145th Street would turn into a Far Rockaway bound A train at 6:47 p.m. This was no longer needed now, especially due to the immense progress of the R211A delivery, providing more than enough trains for the A to use. The R68 or R62A A train is now a thing of the past. My last time seeing it was on June 11, 2024. However, it didn't come down in service, even though I was anticipating it to. Then they just stopped prepping up sets altogether. They used to store them at 135th Street and Dykeman Street. Then ironically, on August 11th, we saw an R68A on Brighton, as Sheepshead Bay signed up as an A. A 10-car R179C train, 3273 to 77 and 3019 to 15, ran on October 31st. Credit to Shamari for the catch. 4 R32 cars, 3360 to 61 and 3352 to 53, were shifted from Coney Island Yard to the New York Transit Museum on October 29th or before, while 3354 to 55 was slated to join the other R32 movie train cars as of October 29th, after it had moved around some of the preserved pairs, 3351 to 50 and 3361 to 60. On December 26, 6 R32 cars were brought to the 36th to 38th Street yards to be scrapped. 3430 to 31, 3400 to 01, and 3376 to 77, being transferred by rider cars and engines. These cars came from Pitkin Yard. Then 4 more R32 cars were brought to 36th to 38th Street Yard on the same day. 3670 to 71 and 3781 to 3780. They're slated to go to 65th Street Yard and then be sent off to scrap at Sims Metal Management. 10 R32 cars were prepared for scrap in one day. There is one last R32 consist left at Pitkin, that being 3621 and 3644, a 2-car consist. Now, referring to this list, 16 R32s have been preserved, 6 cars are left at 207th as shunting motors, 2 are at Coney Island for FD&Y training, 2 are at Staten Island Railway for work service, 2 are stored at Coney Island, 6 are stored at Concourse, and 1 car, 3699, is stored at 38th Street, and then 2 are stored at Pitkin, 4 at 207th, and 14 at 36th to 38th Street yards for scrapping. 7 R32s are off of MTA property, listed here. 94 cars were sent to Ohio, while 86 cars were sent to Sims Metal Management in New Jersey, while 55 R32s remain on MTA property, and 35 will be retained by New York City Transit to be preserved. Credit to the NYCT subway tracking server for this information. Adding on to this, we marked 3 years since the R32 retirement run, January 9th, 2022. It's crazy it's been 3 years already. Wow. That retirement run was spectacular, by the way. From November 4th to November 18th, we experienced a revolutionary G.O, which shook up IND and BMT service over nights and weekends. Due to switch replacement at 59th Street Columbus Circle, A trains ran from Lefferts or Far Rockaway to 96th Street 2nd Avenue, via Fulton and 6th Avenue locals and via 2nd Avenue. This was the first time that A trains had ever ventured up there, allowing for very interesting fanning and photo opportunities. The C was suspended, the D ran from 34th Street Herald Square to Coney Island, and from 145th Street to Norwood, the E train ran normally. The F ran normally, the Q ran from Times Square to Coney Island, and the 3 was extended from 42nd Street to 14th Street overnight to assist with service flow. On the first night, November 4th, R179s and R211As touched 2nd Avenue subway for the first time. R211As 4305 to 09 and 4325 to 29, where the first R211A consists to make the journey up to 96th Street 2nd Avenue on the A train G.O. on November 4th. One of the newest sets at the time, 4364 to 4360, with 4084 to 4080, was signed up as a Q. I mean, hey, that's cool. If it looks like a Q, talks like a Q, and quacks like a Q, then it's a cue to me. R211As were signed up to various different programs. Some said A to Chambers, some said A last stop, some said G, some said M like the one I caught, some said N, Q, R, W, and other cool signage. R46A trains merely displayed to 96 Street. R179s had glitched out announcements because the sound file was too small, making it sound like a chipmunk was saying the announcement. An R179A train was even sent to 21st Street Queensbridge by accident on November 17th. This pair was 3020 to 24 and 3252 to 48, which was caught by notme.com. This G.O. was repeated again on nights between December 30th to January 3rd and January 6th to January 10th, this time with corrected R179 announcements. During the weekends of January 3rd to 6th and January 10th to 13th, the A would run in two sections, between 207th and 125th Streets, and between 42nd Street, Bryant Park, and Queens terminals. Just like in the federal government, there was a president swap. Richard Davies stepped down on June 18th and was replaced by Demetrius Critchlow on October 23rd. Here's a list of some of the shuttles introduced last year. Here's a list of some of the wraps which took place last year. And last but not least, here's a list of some of the Metrocars which were dispersed last year. Initially, back in February of 2024, many of us thought that the Metrocar was going to be discontinued as of January 31st, 2025, because that was the expiration date that was being printed on several of the Metrocards. However, with these limited edition Metrocards, the expiration date was extended up to February of 2026. So it is possible the Metrocard will be sticking around a little bit longer, which is good news for me, because I like the Metrocard. Even though I ended up buying an OMNY card on August 5th, because the MTA robbed me 3 times in August from my Metrocard because it had a small bend in it, so I lost quite a lot of money over that. So I ironically ended up making a switch to OMNY before one of the members of Zack and Night Eagle, who shall not be named. On December 9th, the very last rollout of limited edition Metrocars were announced. They were Instagram Metrocars from New York Nico, Subway Takes, and Overheard New York, which were featured at Fordham Road, 125th Street on the 2 and 3, Penn Station, Grand Central, 14th Street Union Square, Essex Street, Fulton Street, Jamaica Center, Sutphin Boulevard, Court Square, Bedford Avenue, and Atlantic Avenue Barclay Center. These Metrocars had the expiration date of February 28, 2026, which is the presumed discontinuation date for all Metrocars in general. If confirmed, this means that OMNY will officially take over by March 2026. On December 18, 2024, it was also announced that the MTA will be enacting a 4% fare hike in August 2025, as part of its nearly $20 billion budget for the year, raising the fare again from $2.90 to $3. So hopefully this, combined with congestion pricing which just went into effect, can be enough to fund the MTA's newest planned projects. So the $2.75 fare lasted for 8 years, from 2015 to 2023, while the $2.90 fare lasted from 2023 to 2025, and the flat $3 fare will be the standard going forward. My $3 OMNY Fortnite also, after several delays, student OMNY cars were finally rolled out in September of 2024. New turnstiles were added at the following stations to reduce fare evasion: Kingsbridge Road on the B and D, East 180th Street on the 2 and 5, 125th Street on the 2 and 3, 42nd Street Port Authority Bus Terminal, Delancey Street Essex Street, Bowling Green, Flushing Main Street, Forest Hill 71st Avenue, and Crown Heights Utica Avenue. That's in addition to the new turnstiles and fare gates added to places like 34th Street Penn Station, Sutphin Boulevard, Astoria Boulevard, and Atlantic Avenue Barclay Center. OMNY machines have been popping up all over the place. I mean, just take a look at this map of all the places where you can get OMNY cars throughout the city. Wow. R33 main lines 9068 to 69 were repainted to their red livery on November 7th. Being swapped out from green to red. Then a 6-car consist was present on the 7 line on November 9, 2024. This consist being 9586 to 87, 9543 to 42, and 9068 to 69. It was present on Flushing for a movie shoot, giving people many good opportunities to see a Redbird back on Flushing. R179s at Jamaica. On December 1st, an R179 from East New York Yard ran on the M for the very first time. This consists being 3061 to 3058 and 3118 to 3121. On December 10, 2024, a 10-car R179 consist was shifted from Pitkin to Jamaica Yard. The consist being 3020 to 24 and 3248 to 52. 3020 to 24 was later swapped out for 3288 to 92. Then the new 10-car Concourse returned to Jamaica on December 17th and entered service on the F on December 18th the next day. Its first trip took place on December 18th at 5:16 p.m. from Jamaica 179th Street to Coney Island. R179's first touchdown on the E on January 6, 2025, with my friend Zach Transit catching a Concourse on his first day. The first two Concourses to operate on the E were 3272 to 68 with 3313 to 17, and 3238 to 42 with 3327 to 23. 3014 to 3019, 3045 to 3049, and 3243 to 47 were also moved to Jamaica. So in total, 4.5 R179 trains or 45 cars are currently at Jamaica, listed here. That leaves 8.5 R179A trains at Pitkin, or 85 cars, listed here. We had a few interesting fan trips. The Reign of the Redbirds happened on November 4th, 2023. On May 28, 2024, the New York Transit Museum announced these yearly fan trips. The annual baseball trips took place on April 5, 2024, the same day that a surprise earthquake struck New Jersey, which was felt throughout parts of New York. That trip featured a low V and a full-length Redbird this time, with the Concourse being listed here. We had the July 20th R1 and R9 trip to Coney Island and the August 11th R1 R9 excursion to the Rockaways, this time without the R32. This was the first time in 3 years that the R32 was not present for the Rockaways trip. That was because the R32 was prepped up to do a 60th anniversary excursion trip on September 14, 2024. The Concourse which ran was comprised of 6 cars, 3888 to 89, Phase 2 consists 3350 to 51 and 3361 to 3360, which ran between 96th Street, 2nd Avenue and Coney Island, non-stop via Broadway and Brighton. 3350 to 51 was quite unique because that was the first time we've seen this Phase 2 consist in years. A 4-car low V commemorated the New York City subway's 120th anniversary on October 27th and November 16th by running up the 2 line and down the 4 line, then returning up to 239th Street Yard once it was done. Lastly, we had R1 and R9 Nostalgia Rides take place on Sundays in December, from 96th Street 2nd Avenue to 2nd Avenue on the V. They announced these trips on November 24th. On November 23rd, an R160 F train 9167 to 63 and 9577 to 73 was rerouted to Euclid Avenue due to a switch problem at J Street. As previously mentioned, the 63rd Street Fixation project was wrapped up on April 1st. With that, the M was able to return to Queens Boulevard to assist the R once more, while the F returned to 63rd Street, eliminating the shuttle. No more M to 57th. It was fun while it lasted though, and I'm sure it was nostalgic for many to see the E and F both run via 53rd Street again. Many, self-included, liked the change a little too much. With the construction being finished, things returned to normal, and whatever loans were still on the C, R160s and R179s, returned to East New York, and the Q94 and 95 ceased to exist, leaving the Stengel Next Gens in danger. However, nothing happened to them, so forget about that part. In fact, their fleet total only got larger. Lastly, RIOC suspended their temporary additional service program due to this, as it was no longer necessary. As a byproduct of the work done on the 63rd Street Tunnel, apparently several Jamaica R160s have developed flat wheels. As a result, on January 3rd, 2025, a few consist of R46s listed here were apparently moved to Coney Island Yard and allegedly reserved for G train service, totaling 11 4-car trains or 300-foot-long trains. However, because these R46s have to be inspected, the G used a fleet of 4 R68s and 8 R62As from both Concourse and Coney Island instead, with one R160 9928 to 9932 remaining in service. It was quite amazing to see R68s and R62As on the G line again. It felt like my old high school days at Brooklyn Tech, and I really enjoyed it. Fantastic occurrence. Definitely want to enjoy this a bit more before the R160s get fixed up, paving the way for Crosstown CBTC to be activated between 2027 and 2028. The reason why the R160s were extracted from the G was in order to increase the spare factor for the E, F, and R, while some of their R160s get fixed up. An R160B Siemens set was present on the N line on April 29th. R160B Alstoms 8707 and 8757 ran on the Q on March 29th. Credit to MTA Train Productions for telling me about that. On December 6, 2 mixed R160 Alstom Siemens consists were sent to 207th Street Yard, 9037-33 with 9112-08, and 9593-97 with 8987-83. Meanwhile, a couple R160s were sent to Concourse for wheel truing on December 10th and 12th, as some other consists had also experienced 8898 with 9452 and 9368 and 9698. Oh, it all makes sense now. That is why they've been going to these yards for wheel truing, because the 63rd Street Tunnel has been messing up their wheels. So this has been an issue a lot longer than we actually knew about, and only now is it beginning to have enormous detrimental effects on the system. R160B pilot sets 8713 to 17 returned to service on December 23rd after heavy maintenance at Coney Island. More R142s continue to receive LED signage. 6736 to 40, 6801 to 05, 6811 to 15, and 7126 to 30 now have LEDs, increasing the total of LED-equipped R142s to 37 cars. R142 7126 to 30 were shifted to Jerome Avenue Yard for 4-line service on November 18th. This marks the first 5-car R142 at the yard with LEDs, as 7171 was only a single unit which had them before. R142As 7621 to 25 and 7641 to 45 returned to Jerome after being at Pitkin Yard for brake testing between January 10th and December 13th, 2024. 103rd Street on the B and C experienced a water main break on November 27th. Just look at the footage. That was pretty bad. R62s were present on the 2 on April 13th and on various weekends in early September, due to a G.O. which severed the 2 into 2 sections, Wakefield and 3rd Avenue 149th Street, and between Harlem 148th Street and Flatbush Avenue. R62s 1496 to 1500 and 1516 to 1520 were returned to the 3-line on September 28th. This leaves only one R62 consists on the 1 line, that being 1351 to 55 and 1330 to 26. R62As 1826 to 30 were moved to Westchester Yard for 6-line service, and debuted on the 6th line with 1996 to 2000 on June 14, 2024. R62As 1896 to 1900 returned to service on the 1 line on June 21, 2024, after being out of service for over 2 years. R62As 2411 to 2415 returned to service on May 14, 2024, 4 months after its accident at 96th Street. Meanwhile, 2177 to 2180 returned to service with single unit 1934 on March 29, 2024, returning from the same accident. On April 24th, R142 consists 6641 to 45 and 6711 to 15 were temporarily given to East New York for a movie shoot. They were spotted at Canal Street on the J, signed up as a 3 on April 24th, as well as spotted at Bowery. They then shifted to Coney Island Yard on April 25th, where they were spotted at Church Avenue, signed up as a 4. Then they were spotted on the Culver Line on April 25th, and then on West End on April 26th. Quite the expedition. In the second quarter of 2024, 13 stations received ReNewVation. Harlem 148th Street on the 3, Eastchester Dyer on the 5, 116th Street on the 6, Beach 90th and Beach 116th Streets on the Rockaway Park Shuttle, Bay Parkway on the F, Flushing and Greenpoint Avenues on the G, Gates Avenue on the J, 18th Avenue on the N, Grand Avenue Newtown, Prince Street on the R, and Franklin Avenue on the Shuttle. 14 stations were renovated in the third quarter of 2024. Those were 233rd Street and Winthrop Street on the 2, 51st Street on the 6, High Street and Grant Avenue on the A, Roosevelt Island and Avenue P on the F, Court Square, Metropolitan Avenue, Classen Avenue, and Clinton Washington Avenues on the G, Knickerbocker Avenue on the M, and Botanic Garden and Park Place on the Franklin Avenue Shuttle. On March 31st, the 7 ran as the Super Express. 82nd Street and 111th Streets reopened as of April 19th, darn near looking like the Astoria Station rehabs. On May 6, 2024, Phase 3 of the Flushing Rehabilitation Project began. Queens-bound 7 trains now skip 82nd and 111th Streets, as the Flushing Main Street-bound side now receives repairs. The Manhattan-bound side is now good. So, 7 local trains going to Main Street will now skip those 2 stations. Some 7 trains will terminate at Metz Willis Point, and some will terminate at 103rd Street Corona Plaza as a result. Fifth Avenue received platform screen fences on March 24th. This is one of 14 stations to have barrier fences equipped, which are listed here. In conclusion, the MTA was popping off in 2024 and early 2025. A firestorm of R211A deliveries, with consists being delivered to both 207th Street and South Brooklyn Railway now, 4400 series R211As being delivered and entering service, more R211s being approved from Option Order 2, the R211S pilot entering service, R179s at Jamaica and on Queens Boulevard, on the E, F, and M, and probably the R soon, and R68s returning to the G, with many more exciting developments yet to come. Credit to Brian Mercy, 1022, Media and Gaming, Orion 7s Forever, Nikitos, Trackwork, and many others who helped contribute to the information contained in this video, and for helping me keep track of the deliveries, transfers, and retirements. Credit to all the people who contributed in some way, shape, or form to the making of this video. Your hard work and effort is definitely appreciated. Thank you for tuning in to the Subway edition of Next Stop News. Please subscribe, stay blessed, stay healthy, stay hype, and thank you for riding with Next Stop News. Here's the featured photos section. Enjoy!